Yes, yes, it has launch control. Yes, I have played with it. And yes, it is a lot of fun.
Hey, I'm working away at the last of my COVID projects. I am rebuilding a KO4 turbocharger, better impeller and compressor vanes pieces. We'll see how that turns out. This week's episode spent a bunch of time with Craig and Brett, seeing their cars and having them talk about their stuff, which is kind of neat. You get to learn a little bit more about them, and they're normally doing stuff in the background and helping out, but it's nice to have them on camera and telling us about their cars. And then, yes, one of the big topics this time, and kind of got into it by accident, but one of the big topics this time is launch control. And Brett starts into the conversation, I think, on that. And then we have Hugh gets talking about it, and Brett walks through it, and interesting stuff. The whole issue of launch control comes up often, and people who know about it always tell interesting stories, and people who don't know about it are always very interested to hear the interesting stories. And in the next episode, we have a member who's never used launch control trying it out. So that's sort of interesting. That's something for a week or so away. And then we go to Northern Ontario, where Phil lives, and he talks us through his car and gets into quite a good conversation about water methane injection. I learned some things, and yeah, so hope you're enjoying these things. The government certainly here in Ontario is starting to loosen up. I know the government in the States is not so much, so I don't think the borders are going to be open anytime soon, but we'll go from there. Hope you enjoy. I'm going to get back to Googling and figuring out how to build a turbo. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brett. Been a long time Audi fan. Between the ones that I've had and that my wife has also had, I think between the two of us, we've had 8 Audis. My wife had an A3 and 2 Q5s. I've had every engine that was available in the B5. I had every engine. And then I've also had 2 B8s, one that was the A4 Avant, and the one that I've got right now, which is the S4. This one's been tuned by Unitronic. And if I can turn my camera around here some way, there we go. Nice shot of my wall, and here's my car. You're looking at a green stripe down the side of it. I've been kind of toying with different stripe layouts on it. Haven't quite settled on anything yet. The supercharged V6. I've got the Unitronic Stage 2 on it, where all you have to do is just change this little pulley right here, and you get some significant kick in the pants when you step on the gas pedal. This weekend, I plan on doing a supercharger service on it. I don't know if we'll be able to see it in the video or not, but right down in behind here is a little bolt that will give me access to where the fluid is. I've watched a couple of videos, read some instructions on it. I've seen people have to take the supercharger off to get it done. Other people have tried a syringe method. I think I'm going to be trying the syringe method first, since I really don't want to pull the supercharger. basically just a hose into the bottom, suck all the fluid out, and then using the same method, you push it back in. But that little bolt's going to be rather difficult to access. But we'll see how it goes. When I was looking for this car, I've always been a fan of the B8 models. Not as big a fan of the B8.5. I think I prefer the headlights on the B8s. But the biggest thing, and let's see if I can get it to show up in the video here, is that is a brown and black leather interior. I've seen white and black. Obviously, they refer to that as the Panda. I've also seen red and black, but the brown and black combination is actually fairly rare. I don't think I've ever seen another car with it. But yeah, that's my S4. I'm pretty happy with it. If Gordon ever gets his TT done, I may have to go stage 3 just to be able to keep up with him. But for now, we'll see how it holds out.
I don't think we're going to need to worry about that, but
Craig here. Got a video for you to show off my Mazda MX-5 Roadster. It's the RF edition with the retractable fastback, and it's a GT. Anyway, hope you like it. It's wrapped with a Bridgestone Potenza 17-inch wheels and rims. It has the retractable roof, as you can see, is open right here with the Napa leather. It's the Sport with the paddle shifters, because my wife won't drive a standard, and if she has to drive it, it's ready and available for her. Anyway, it's really small. I've made some subtle changes to it along the way. I've changed the intake hose to something silicone because I didn't like the stock throttle body air intake hose that was all riffled, so I put in the smooth silicone throttle body intake hose, and I have a K&N filter kit. I've also changed the exhaust on this car to be a Goodwin Racing Roadster Sport Super Street exhaust to give it a better growl. So it has a stainless steel exhaust. Sounds pretty decent. This was my daily driver for this year, but after this spring, summer, fall, this will be relegated to the garage and only driven in the nicer months. So, like we've been talking about at work, I'm looking for a A3 or A4 wagon. So if anyone knows anyone that's looking to get rid of one that's been well cared for, hook me up with them, and I'd be glad to talk shop. Anyway, I'm just gonna give a quick demo on how this roof retracts. When you get to use the paddle shifters. I have extensions that I haven't put on yet, so that'll be interesting.
Just one word of caution about the extensions.
Yeah.
I had those on my last car. The extensions look nice, but they don't. You've got to be careful where you touch the paddles, because it changes the effort applied to the button. So if you're kind of touching it up at the top of the extension, it doesn't apply the pressure to the button evenly, and there's potential to snap it. My wife had gotten me a test drive of an R8, and the R8 had the paddle shifters. And so right after test driving that, I went and bought the A4 because it had the paddle shifters.
Okay.
And so when I was shopping around, I was looking for an S4 that was, in good shape and had that kind of unique interior. And this one also has paddle shifters. So, yeah.
Now, yours, does that year and model, does that have launch control? Have you played with that if it's got it?
Yes, it has launch control. Yes, I have played with it. And yes, it is a lot of fun. I would highly recommend anybody who is looking for a vehicle. I highly recommend getting launch control and experiencing that. And yeah, it's a night and day difference. I mean, you can step on the gas pedal at a set of lights, or take your average car to the track, and you can feel the acceleration that your average car will give you. But if you've got launch control, I mean, you play with a couple of buttons, and the car just literally throws you back in the seat, and it's like waking a beast that's about to bite you in the ass. It really is.
Brett, what year did you say your car was?
It's a 2012.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
What is launch control?
It gives you the opportunity to bring the revs up, and the computer controls all that for you. So when you're taking off,
Is it an aftermarket thing?
Nope, it comes with Audi has it in their S models, also in their RS models.
So would my S8 have that?
I would expect it to, yeah.
Yep.
How do I find it? I have no button that says launch control.
There is no button that says launch control. You are correct. What you have to do is put, well, actually, maybe what we'll do here is I'll turn mine on. We'll do a walkthrough.
I say even better, let's do a launch.
I will confess, I've been in Brett's car when we did launch before the tune and then after the tune, and it is he's not kidding when he says, if you're just at a light and you just move the throttle on your own, yes, the car accelerates, but I'll tell you, with the launch control on it, you are thrown back in the seat. You can't not be.
What does it do now? Like what does it physically do to the car that you're not getting when you stomp down on the accelerator?
Why don't you talk through it, Brett? Yeah?
Yeah, that's fine. It changes the transmission and the suspension and the throttle response, and it picks a more aggressive map, I guess is kind of the way to put it. So I'm going to turn my car, and the garage door is open. We'll be okay. So turn this around, and in my car, if we go down here, you take a look at the dynamic mode. We want to put that into dynamic. And then
Dynamic
the
on what? Engine transmission? On my screen for setting up the car, I've got a half a dozen things that I can adjust to dynamic or comfort or engine, suspension. There's a half a dozen things. Steering. Is it through that you set that up?
Yeah, there's
Anyway,
a combination. Yep, there's a combination of, there's a bit of a sequence here. And the sequence starts with putting it into dynamic mode, as we've just done. And then you're going to see over here, I'm going to push the traction control button. But what I'm going to do is, if you watch the screen here, turning it off, but I'm still holding the button at this point. And now it's gone into the restricted stability. Now I'm basically in launch mode. So what I'll do is I'll hold my foot on the brake. I'll put my foot on the gas pedal. And the car will just hold that RPM for a few seconds. Take your foot off the brake and your car just goes like a bat out of hell.
I'll tell you what, Hugh. Let's talk offline about this, and maybe next event, let's talk you through trying it in your car.
You know, it throws you back in the seat right now with 520 horsepower.
Yeah.
It is a rocket, but I'm certainly going to play with it tomorrow.
Right.
I guess it eliminates the need for lightning quick reflexes. You let the car do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. The car does all the work for you, but it also, like I said, it's got that underlying program that it kind of just makes the car more aggressive in the way that it responds to everything. So
it does launch harder. No two ways about it.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
Brett, when the car was stock, you had this as well?
Yeah. Stock, you're limited to 200 launches. But one of the things that Unitronic does is they reduce that limit. They eliminate that limit.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
you go to, you can do it, as many times as you want.
Now, I'm guessing you don't find any of this in the owner's manual.
You know what? I've never looked for launch control in the owner's manual, so I couldn't tell you.
Interesting. Certainly not something that's general knowledge.
No.
I've only driven Audi since '89, and I've never heard that.
Yeah. It's pretty funky. All right, Brett, I'm gonna say thank you very much for wandering around and showing us the Batmobile. And anybody else got some interesting parts they're going to be putting on the car in the next couple of weeks?
So I'm still working on mine. It's still in the shop, but it's coming along. Fabrication is making good progress for turbo manifold and port injection, everything else. But it's still slow moving with COVID. Everything's taken forever for shipping, and it's a big project. But it's so my license plate says it all. Altered A4. So yeah, people come along and they pull behind. They're like, oh, it's just single exhaust on the driver's side. It's just an A4 or whatever, right? But it's a fully built integrated engineering crate engine, big turbo. Yeah, its target is 800 horse at the crank.
When are you going to get it back?
I think fabrication should be good in about 2 weeks, and then we're going to start the tune. So this year I'm only looking to get probably 500 at the crank, 500 maybe 550 at the crank, using a Eurodyne tune with a remote tuner. So then next year the plan is to go with a Cyvex standalone ACU, and at that point I'll have the ability to go to big power.
You'll go out looking for M series BMWs and AMG Mercedes.
Sure.
To
Why
take
not?
on.
No, I'm more of a track guy. Looking for more track time. I did a BMW weekend last year, but I was having problems with the clutch, so I only did 2 sessions out of probably what it should have been 8. So I didn't get cleared, so I'm still considered novice. But I want to do more track time for sure.
Good. So my name is Philippe Lambert. I'm from way up north of Montreal, so about 700 kilometers north of Montreal. I own 2 Audis, so this C6 A6 is my daily driver, and this is my B8 S4, which is pretty heavily modified. Excuse for the sun, it's directly hitting the car. Maybe if I go on this side. So this is my B8 S4. I got it 3 years ago now. I started by doing just the simple stage 2 with the upper pulley from Unitronic. And then I started to get everything, exhaust, brakes. I got the big, not sure if you can see it. I got the big heat exchanger upgrade. Also, it's got a test pipe, so it's catless, full exhaust. I'll do a walk around of the interior a bit later. So as you can see, it's on bags. I did this. I did all the exterior modification last year because I was basically done with the performance. So I done all this. I done the horsepower than the original. So right now it sets about at 575 horsepower. It's got the integrated engineering, dual pulley with throttle body. I run the 100 octane map. So the engine bay is pretty standard. My friend is actually a fabricator. So he did this nice 4-inch intake for myself. It's a one-off and it's powder coated. It's very dark and flaky blue. Not sure you can really see it on camera. So I've got also water methanol injection. You can see that right there. Also, for the engine bay, that's pretty much that. So back and close this. So as far as performance, I got everything. Basically, that's the possible for this car. The only thing I'm missing is the blower. So for the interior, it's pretty standard. I have a P3 gauge, which you can see there. I also have my water met gauge, which also acts as a boost gauge. I had some custom carbon fiber trims made from a guy up in the New Brunswick, and I'm not sure if we can see it, but it's actually blue carbon. Yeah, like this we can see it maybe a little. So it's blue reflective carbon. And I also have a Black Forest Industries shift knob. So the interior is pretty much that. Oh, I also have the RTI airlift pod. So it's perfectly integrated. I find this really nice. So we can go up the back. Oh, so this pops up quite a lot. So this is my setup for my airbags. It's a airlift 3P, so the basic setup, and I have a AccuAir Endo CT tank. So this is actually the noise that the compressor makes. So it's virtually nothing. Yeah. So I made a hardwood floor. Under there is my my water mat tank with a pump. So instead of having a 1 gallon tank, I opted to have a 2.5 gallon tank, but in the back. So it's got a CTS full catback exhaust plus the cat delete. It's also sitting on foam wheels. They're one-off. I've pretty much never seen any other set like these. Yeah, so it's got the usual carbon fiber ducktail. You can see there. It's got the carbon fiber diffuser. It's also got the carbon fiber front lip. And I actually got these this year, the honeycomb fog grills. Yeah, I think they are a nice addition with the honeycomb RS style grill.
So Phil, you've got lovely car. You've got water meth on it, and I've heard people talk about this before. I've seen cars with it before. I must confess, I don't really understand what it means, what it does, what the advantage is, what it costs, what the dangers are of it. Can you just take a moment and give us water methane 101?
number one use for water melt is to bump the octane rating of the fuel. So we can basically run a higher octane map with a lower octane fuel. So in my case, I run a 100 octane race fuel map with 94 octane fuel and water melt. Water melt also does a bit of cooling since it's a mist that you inject in the flowing air. So it cools down the air before entering the engine. Because as you know, superchargers are known for creating a lot of heat. So this is also a benefit from water melt. So basically a water melt setup has a few components. So you gotta have a tank, you gotta have a pump, and then there's line, you gotta have a controller, and finally your nozzle setup in the intake. So at the back here, we have a 2.5 gallon tank, which is it's strapped to the OEM battery anchors. So I put that there. So this is the water met reservoir. And beside that, you have the pump, which is a Snow Performance 200 PSI 12 volt pump. So this basically takes the methanol in the tank and then pumps it up to the nozzle, which is in the front. So the advantage of putting the tank and pump at the back, you can have a bigger tank, so more capacity, and you have to refill the tank less times because if your foot is heavy, you go through that quite a bit. As you can see, it's about halfway now, and I filled it up this morning. But I did a few pulls, so that's why. So if we go around the front, we can now see on the top of the supercharger, this is the end of the water mat line. So the nozzle is actually inside of the bypass tube. So I have a 1000 cc nozzle in there. So it sprays in this direction. So it fogs up all inside the blower. So what this does there, it's mixing up with the air and then going into the engine. And then it bumps up the effective octane rating because the octane rating of the stuff is actually methyl hydrate. So it's basically fuel or whatever. So the octane rating of this is like 150. So you mix that with water and then you spray it in the engine. The mix ratio I use is 60% methanol and 40% water, but you can pretty much choose whatever you want. I went with this because that's what the car seemed to like the most. But my friend is running 100% methanol on his car, but it's a BMW, so that's another story. Yeah, so it ends there, but above 50% ratio, it gets dangerous for fire if there is any leaks. So you got to be careful about leaks while running this. Other dangers are if you are doing a race or a pole and your tank runs out, it's dangerous for NOx because you're using a high octane tune, but now you have just low octane fuel, so it's dangerous for NOx. Yeah. So if we go inside, we will have the controller. Yeah. So this is the controller that controls all the water metal. So it's also a boost gauge. Yeah. Let me turn that off. Yeah. So if I go in the menu, you see injection start. So this is 10 psi. So when I'm in boost, the injection will start at 10 psi, and it's the controller builds a ramp between 10% and 100%. So the start will have the pump run at 10% capacity, and then by the injection full pressure, the pump will be at 100%. This controller also have the option for a power nozzle. So this is a secondary nozzle that comes on after the first one is at full capacity. So I had it off. So then you can change the text and graph, and you can turn on and off the whole water mat kit. I also have a purge, so I can purge the line if I remove a line, if I change one or whatever. So the cost of all this, I have a pretty hefty kit. So the tank was I had to purchase the tank on the side because it was not in the kit. It cost me about 1,000 Canadian dollars all in all for the kit. Once I had purchased 7 different nozzles to test out and find what the best one is. And the stuff that goes in there costs. So I go out at Canadian Tire and I buy methyl hydrate and water, and I do it 5 gallons at a time, and it costs me 45 Canadian dollars for 5 gallons. So it's not that bad. Yep.
Okay. And did you try octane boosters, or was that just too much fuss? This is just easier.
Yeah, I did try that, and it fouled my spark plugs really quick, so they turned like a weird orange. So I had to ditch that, and I went for watermelon.